So it's Sunday evening, and I'm sitting here pointing my camera at my cat and talking about circuits for a YouTube video. But this one will be mostly me talking. I'm about halfway through a pretty big circuit design process, and I just kind of wanted to document where I was at with it. So what I wanted to do was to create a DIY version of a relatively famous synthesizer module called the Maths. It's made by a company named Make Noise. Most of you are probably familiar with it. It's kind of a little analog computer, kind of a Swiss Army knife module. And I was watching videos of it that people posted, and kind of demos. And I had some circuit ideas about how the thing probably works. So kind of wanted to go through that. So I think what's at the heart of the thing is a AD/AR cyclable envelope. This schematic is something that comes up when you search for AD envelope schematic, and it was a topology that I thought I could use to implement some of the features that would eventually be in the thing. One of the things that I needed to do was make the attack and decay time current controlled. So I needed to replace, you can basically keep this topology the same, but replace the two diodes and the two pots and the capacitor with something that'll be controllable. So what I got here, just got attacked, was that's an attack. Is that a voltage controllable attack? Oh, I don't know. Get out of here. Anyway, so the way I wanted to implement the current control of the attack and decay was I have a couple of analog switches that are complementary, and that when one is logic, or when there's a logic 1 coming in, one is open, the other one's closed. And they're connected to a current source and a current sink. And the other side of the switches, which is common, is connected to a current integrator. So sort of the way this thing works is during the attack cycle, the current source is connected to the current integrator, and the output of the integrator ramps down. Then when it hits a certain threshold set by this little op amp, I think that's a negative voltage right there, you can tell. But when that threshold is reached, this resets this SR latch, and the current sink is now connected to the input of the current integrator, and the integrator ramps back up. And then I have it so I have a little reset switch here for the integrator, so at the end of the attack decay cycle it kind of goes back to 0 basically, so you don't wind up with a bunch of DC offsets and weird stuff. And then I have some additional feedback to make it cyclable. So the current source and sink are just single transistor, real simple current sources and sinks. Don't need to make anything fancy like temperature compensated, because this isn't a VCO and we really don't care if the thing drifts with temperature. But that's kind of basically the schematic where I'm at right now. There it is on the breadboard. It's kind of a beast. Here are some waveforms coming out of the thing. The attack and decay control voltages are hooked up to a couple of different LFOs, and then one of the LFOs is hooked up to the reset, or the gate input, so the thing resets every once in a while. Should be able to see it pretty soon. Like, there's a reset pulse right there, and there's one right there. There's one in there. There's one right there. So, pretty squirrely looking waveforms coming out of the thing. Here's what it sounds like as a control voltage source. So it's just controlling the cutoff frequency of the filter there. And I think it might be inverted from the LED right there. So. And then change the frequency of the LFOs coming in. So, I don't know, that's one of the things it can do. That was in cyclable mode, of course. But what I have remaining to do is implement a sort of compressor slash expander circuit right after the integrator to implement the logarithmic through linear to exponential ramp shaping control that is in the maths. I think it's inside of the feedback loop because based on demos that I've seen of people with the thing, when they change from exponential to logarithmic or vice versa, it changes the output frequency of the thing when it's in cyclable mode. And I think the reason they put the thing inside the feedback loop is because that way it keeps a constant amplitude regardless of whether it's exponential or logarithmic. The trade-off there is it changes the frequency when you go from logarithmic to linear to exponential. So I've got a circuit idea of how to do that, and then I just need to implement attack release as well as attack decay, which I think will be a lot simpler than the exponential to logarithmic thing. But after those two things are done, then I'll have a single channel of a pseudo DIY version of the maths. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for saying it's a version of the maths. It's some DIY circuit that's completely unrelated to anything Make Noise ever made. So anyways, I'm about, like I said, hopefully halfway done with the circuit. And I just kind of was happy with the progress I made so far, and I'm gonna keep experimenting and keep trying new things, and hopefully I'll get it done one day.